Again, here we are in heat number 4, round number 1, Puerto Escondido Challenge, all part of the World Surf League Big Wave Tour, and we got some great surfers in this final heat of round number 1. Jamie Mitchell out of Australia, Francisco Porcella out of Italy by way of Maui, Rogercin Ramirez, local hero here in Mexico, Joao de Macedo from Portugal, Damien Hobgood, veteran surfer from the USA, and another local charger and legend in Oscar Moncada. He's out there in the green jersey. Here's the opening ride. This looks like it was Oscar Moncada.
Oscar Moncada, a standout, one of the best barrel riders here in Puerto Escondido, bar none. Compared to any international surfer in the lineup, he knows better than anyone how to find that Carmelitas right. That is his bread and butter. You see him out in the lineup, you see him from far bar to main peak to Carmelitas, but when the swell is 180 degrees, 190 degrees south, he knows that the emphasis of the swell is going to be on the right-handers in Carmelitas, and that's exactly where he's sitting. Pretty good first ride, nothing major.
It's like literally just sand and water coming out my nose non-stop just now, but yeah, it's just Porto. Like, you can't really surf here for that long without kind of getting an injury. You know, Jamie's just about to start his heat, and I don't know what's going on in his mind, but I know that he'll make it happen. I hope he will anyway.
Pretty nice positioning as far as finding that left in the lineup. We've seen predominantly rights. You can see him, he took off right in front of the lifeguard tower, so being a goofy footer sometimes, it's nice to get that first wave on your front hand and feel a little bit more comfortable before you paddle into anything bigger.
And our view from the DJI drone high up above, giving us this bird's eye view of Joao de Macedo, and maybe a little bit of strategy playing for Joao in that, a typical big wave session, you could be out there 4 hours, catch 2 waves. Well, there he is, hopping back on the skis. So that means we're going to need to take a replay and take a look at some of these rides that transpired. Here's Jamie Mitchell.
Jamie Mitchell pulling in, huge barrel. Look at the size of that pit. Manages to pull in, but he knew he wasn't coming out. And we see Joao de Macedo once again pulling in, trying to pull in without grabbing a rail. That is one of the hardest things to do in big waves, is get barreled backside without grabbing a rail. We see how the board had a tendency to want to be going forward, which it did. His nose pearls. He goes over the handlebars and provides us with a horrible looking wipeout as we see live action.
Live action, and also straightening out, nailing off the tail, that is the local Rogercin Ramirez.
Rogercin Ramirez, son to famous legendary big wave surfer Roger Ramirez. He has been an inspiration to many of us, including Grant Twiggy Baker.
But what happens after that is just as bad. We're going to go to live action right now as we see Francisco Porcella, our Italian competitor by the way of Maui, pulling into the barrel on his backhand, back facing the wave, grabbing the rail and pulling into the tube.
Francisco Porcella, yeah, gets his feet on the board. Small wave in regards to the other waves that we've seen today, but I think he knows that he needed a score on the board. Here he is pulling in backside, manages to get inside the barrel, lip clamps up a little bit, isn't able to come out, and here we see a drone view of Joao de Macedo's horrible wipeout, but Joao, look at that, looking straight down, goes over the handlebars, head first into the water, most likely got sucked over the falls. So much power, so much stuff happening. It feels like the wave is trying to rip the limbs off your body, and we see Roger Ramirez once again, just a quick bottom turn, jumps off. Why? Because he knows that wave was about to mow him over. He wants to get as far away as possible from his surf.
And more waves hitting the sandbar here. And Joao de Macedo, we can't say enough about the effort that this Portuguese surfer is putting in, but another wipeout for Joao. He's using a lot of energy out there and not completing rides, but you got to give him credit for going for it. Back to live action here. Damien Hobgood, that's our first view. I'm sorry, take that back. That was Francisco Porcella on the backhand, and that's going to be Francisco's third wave ridden. So Francisco staying busy along with Joao out there.
Yeah, Joao and Macedo, obviously these surfers have 2, 3, 4 backup boards. As long as they have time in their heat, these surfers are allowed to come in, change their equipment, and paddle back out. As we see Rogercin Ramirez on that last wave. Well-surfed wave, unfortunately kind of runs out towards the channel, doesn't give him an exit. Broken sternum and all, he's looking pretty good for a man that is not 100%.
I'm saying an incredible performance by Jamie Mitchell as we look to the green jersey of Oscar Moncada on his wave.
Look how solid Oscar looks on his board. That is an advantage that he's had ever since he was young. David Rutherford, for example, was tall and lanky. Oscar Moncada was kind of built like a cannonball. He's short, he's stocky, perfect fit for these barrels. You can see him gliding through barrels, and he always looks very much on his board.
We have 12 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock. Let's take another look at the ride, Kale.
Beautiful looking left for Oscar Moncada. Beautiful drop, grabs his rail. Obviously not a deep barrel at all. He was just out in the shoulder, but I think at this point he just wanted to score on the board. Good sized wave compared to the other waves that we've seen in this heat. Has a beautiful corner. Look at him, solid, low to his board, opening up his shoulders, looking down the line, opens up. He has time to look back at the barrel that's behind him. He would have loved to have been probably 30 feet behind that peak, but for now, it's a good wave compared to other waves being ridden. You're looking at roughly, we'll get back to that as we see Damien Hobgood pulling in. We were just talking about him. A little bit frustrated with the waves he's caught, but nonetheless, a good sized wave. Gets a score on the board. I love the way he gets low. He's such a stocky, such a good surfer. Manages to stay really low to his board, generates speed, never looks like he's going to fall, and I really like that about Damien surfing.
Well, we'll see if he gets that 3.78 that he requires to get up into advancing position. But back to the question, far, Carmelitas, just give us a rough estimate of how much distance that might be.
Nazare being one of the scariest waves. Every single competitor that I've talked to talks about Nazare. As we see a replay, beautiful airdrop there for Damien Hobgood. See how difficult that is to do? It seems simple to stay low to your board and hop over a step. That was about 4 feet that the board went over the ledge, stays low to his board. It's a closeout. He's going to straighten out, but look at the size of the white water behind him. It looks small, but when you actually see a pulled in version of the wave, it is crazy. As we see on screen, Jose Ramirez, lower left, Coco Nogales, upper left. We see Roger Ramirez up to the right with the black shirt, Checo Ramirez over to the right with the yellow cap. These are all legendary big wave Mexican surfers that live in Puerto Escondido, breathe cicatela, and surf massive waves day in and day out.
Taking off, Jamie Mitchell engages the rail, makes the wave. Mitchell currently in second place and advancing situation. Countdown happening right now, and that's going to be the end of the heat. And it looks as if Oscar Moncada, Jamie Mitchell, and Rogercin Ramirez going to advance. Kale, you got to be proud as a Mexican surfer yourself. 2 of our wild cards making it over.